Hello and welcome to another exciting tutorial with digitalrgb.com. My name is Tony Richardson and I'm going to show you how to take a photo and edit the skin and still keep the original texture and the overall information inside the image. Now what I mean by that is this. Here's the original image, and you can see, although a pretty young lady, she does have blemishes just like everyone else. Now she's not a paying client, she's actually a photo that I downloaded online, and they edited the photo themselves, and here's what they came up with. They came up with just a blur, a surface blur, and this is by going to filter, blur, and then surface blur. And once they play around with the settings, these are the results. Now it's not a bad method, it's just not a complete method in my opinion. You still have some lines here, so you know there's some work to be done still on this. There's another method called Smart Blur right here, and as you see, that's not much better. In fact, it's worse. It looks more like a vector image than a JPEG. It just isn't accurate. The eyes aren't cropped out like they were with the surface blur. Just not really a good method. What we're trying to accomplish is going from this image to this image. So we want her to look younger, we want her not to have any of the wrinkles, but we want the overall features of her face to look the same so that she still looks like the person she is. You need these features. I mean, these creases right here are not bad, they are what define her face, but the wrinkles under the eyes, those can go, and look how much smoother that looks without having these dark areas. Now I'll show you how to do that. We're going to, I'll shut that layer off. Well, you'll only have this one original layer, so you'll take it and select it, and I actually didn't do it right. I pulled it down. So you'll bring it down here and copy it, and you'll select it again and copy it. So you'll have 3 layers. You'll shut this bottom layer off. You want to rename it to something like this, background original, and don't touch it. That's your original image. It never gets touched, and if you save the file, save it just like this with that original image unedited in any way. That way you can go back and kind of do something with it later. You always have your original version, you didn't destroy it. This right here I'm going to name the color, and this layer I'm going to name to texture. And the reason is because I want to separate information on both layers but still get the same as this original layer. I'll show you what I mean. I'll shut the texture layer off. We'll go to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur, and right now I'm at 13.5 pixels, which is the perfect radius for this image. And the reason is because I can still see pink in the lips, I can see a little bluish gray in the eyes. It is very, very far without being too far, and that's what you're looking for. That's where you want to be at. So we're going to click OK. Now texture, I'll turn that back on. I have it selected, and I'm going to apply this layer, this color layer, the Gaussian blur, back to this texture. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to click image and apply image. I'm going to make sure if you have one file open, your source will be the only source that you have, but you can choose other sources when using an applied image method. Now for just your same photo, just only have one file open at a time, and it'll make life a lot easier. The layer that you're using is going to be color. Now I've got a lot of layers here. I even have another one named color, but they are in order as they are over here, so you know that this is the layer I want. And the channel is going to stay the same. Now a lot of people use this method. It's called frequency separation, and they use an add invert method. So what that means is they're taking this image, they stick with a scale of 1 and offset of 0, and they're going to apply it back, and then they'll change the layer modes to try to get the original image. Now I find that to be an issue because you can't just go in here and change the modes and have it look like the original image. It doesn't work that well. You've got to play with it. There's a few more steps, and I find it to be nowhere near as effective as going to subtract and unchecking invert with the scale is 2. The scale has to be 2. That's as high as you can go, and the offset between 120 and 130 is typical. For this, I'm at 130. I like to go as high as I can without going into the danger zone, as I call it. We still want to see these wrinkles because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get this image to look like it's original. So we'll click OK. Obviously it doesn't look like that yet, but we'll go here and we'll go to the layer mode linear light, and there we have it. Now if I turn this background image on and I shut these off, that's the original image, and look how close it is to this. On, off, on, off. Now you can see there wasn't much change, just a really subtle difference in its brightness. Then that's good. That's definitely close enough for us to work with. So I'm going to shut the background layer off. Now other methods use, they go in this color layer right here, which if we shut it off is this. That's the layer, and they will go in and grab this clone stamp. They usually turn the texture layer on. They zoom in and they'll select an area right here and then maybe brighten that up, and they'll go all the way around here. Now here's the problem with that. That was a little too bright, but here's the problem. The problem is you destroy the data. And I know that we're going to get rid of blemishes and we're technically destroying that data, but changing the contrast here and changing the shadows and light areas is really not the best method for doing this. So I don't use that. I will show you how to change that in just a bit without destroying the data, because you want to keep as much original information as you can. So we're going to stay on this texture layer. I'm going to grab the patch tool and we're just going to start with the blemishes first. We'll zoom in and I'll circle a blemish, and then I'll drag to the right and sample an area that is blemish free. And by using this method, and as you see, I start with small areas just so, and then if I have a line I might pull up or something like that, or pull down, and I'm just clicking too fast here. And if you got some blotchy areas like that, you can select them and kind of get rid of those. This one's a little blotchy, and so we'll zoom out and you kind of keep looking at it. And as you work your way around, you can get rid of all these lines. The forehead was quite easy. You can even get rid of little strands of hair, you know, if you want to kind of work that out, you can. And then here's where the kicker, getting down here, this was where it became more difficult. These creases right here are much bigger and darker. So what you want to do is, I recommend taking a section at a time, just like that. And don't be afraid to try it. Now I've used the spot healing brush for this. I've used all kinds of other methods, not for this right here, but for some of these other blemishes. So you can go in here and grab the spot healing brush and maybe just click and click, and it does the same thing. It samples the area around it and tries to basically blend, but that's not, in my opinion, the best method either, because what it'll do is it will overlay that. It does it a little bit differently than the patch tool. The patch tool actually selects an area and overlays it and then feathers the edge a little bit. That I think is the best because it keeps the texture. Let me show you what the end result was. This was the end result right that wasn't the end result, is it? This was the end result. Sorry about that. This was the end result right here. There we go. So I went through and I worked each little area, and I got rid of that little piece of hair, got rid of I even went in between the what are these called, eyelashes, and you know, not too far in because I didn't want to get too crazy, but there was a few of these I did go and actually cut off an eyelash or two by doing that, which I'll show you some ways that we can kind of fix some of that here in a second. So now if I want to affect the let's say these areas were dark, which they're not anymore, And I didn't do anything to them except use a spot healing brush, or the patch tool rather. And what you can do though is you can take and over top you can add 2 layers and call this dodge and call this burn. Okay, so you'll grab the let's see, it is this right here, the dodge brush, and we'll go to this layer, we'll click edit, fill with 50% gray, nope, we want normal, 50% gray right there, and click OK. Now we will set that to soft light. We'll do the same thing with burn while we're here. Edit, fill, 50% gray, OK, and soft light. There we go. Now I'm going to go back to the dodge tool because that's what I have, and I'm going to, oh, you gotta watch doing that. I'm scrolling without clicking on here. So if I wanted to brighten an area up, maybe right here, I just click and start painting in there. I use it just like a paintbrush, and I'm not suggesting that this needs this. I'm just saying this is the method to do it. So if you wanted to just maybe brighten right here on this brow bone, this would be the method to do that. Now we may want to go in right here and click the burn tool and grab our burn tool, zoom in, and just burn the pupil, and around here the eye, we can actually burn the eye in just a bit just to get a little more color. And same over here, actually we can just burn the whole eye in. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? Burn the eye in. And we can actually just darken this up a bit if we want to get a little pop on the eyes. Now I'm not a makeup guy, or I don't really know much about makeup, but I will say that I know that eyeliner is a big thing, and I know that girls make a big deal about it, so we can have it pop a little bit. There we go. Now that's off, on, off, on. Now I'm actually going to keep them off because I didn't spend much time on that, and I am just going to show you that is a method that you can use. But if you do want to color the eyes, you can go in here and we'll rename this eyes. Okay, we'll go and grab the paintbrush tool, and we'll grab this was white, but we'll click Alt and we'll sample a color, and let's see where we're at. We're in the greens, so I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to make sure that I am in the green area, because that does seem to be the overall bluish green color. You can sample more than one color, and let's see, yep, that one's green now. So in this you're going to start, you're going to go to layer blending color, and here I'm just kind of stuttering, but let me just show you what it does. Look at that, isn't that amazing? A nice way to add a pop of color to the eyes. And let me grab the hand tool, go over here. Alright, and I'll put this in. Look at that, just an amazing addition. Now watch when we zoom out. Look at that, that's something else. Now if that's just too much, you go here to the opacity and kind of pull it down a bit, you know, and that's before and after. It just gives a little pop of color. One thing that you can do too is if you wanted to change this, you can go to the let's see, what do we do? Hue and saturation, where is that? I don't see it. Right here, it's this one. Hue and saturation, there we go. And we're going to click colorize, and what we want to do is we want to clip that to the layer below, and we'll go back in here, and then we can drive the saturation up, but then we can change the hue. So this can be blue, brown, it can be purple. Look at that. This is changing all kinds of colors. I'll drive the saturation up so that you can see it. We can have purple eyes. We can have the red eyes from she could be a vampire. Anyway, I'm having a little too much fun here. So that just gives you an idea of all the cool things that you can do with editing photos. Now, one other thing is if we wanted to, I had a little vignette, and I think everybody can watch tutorials on how to do this, but how do we spell that? Vignette. There we go. We're going to go up here and basically drag from corner to corner. That's pretty much it. You press Control-Shift-I, which will select this outside layer instead of inside here. I do go to Select, Modify, and Feather. I've got 75 pixels, and I'm probably going to want between 75 and 80. And you're going to click the Paint Bucket tool. We're going to want black, and we'll click here and deselect, Control-D or Command-D if you're on Mac. And there you go, you got a nice vignette. If it's too much, you can pull it down a bit just to soften it. So we've got a opacity of 64. Not bad. And one other thing, right above the hue and saturation, I can add another layer and do a layer adjustment. And I like layer adjustments right here, new layer adjustment. I like this because it's a non-destructive way of editing the photo. And go to Vibrance. Now, we'll click OK. And here's what I like about this. Now, it's in normal mode and the opacity is 100%, but don't worry about that. Let's drive this up to 40 or so. We'll drive this in the 20s, maybe about right there, and look what it did. Just really brought some amazing color out. But let's just drop it down to a soft light so it has a little more contrast, and then we'll take the opacity down to about 60 or so. Right there, and look at that, and we'll take it off and on. Isn't that just a beautiful edit right there? Although her eyes are bothering me, we could change those back to maybe a blue that matches her shirt. So now her eyes and shirt match, as everybody likes to color coordinate. That's an important thing with girls, right? So my name's Tony Richardson, and this is DigitalRGB.com. Thanks.